Welcome to the Dr. Leadership Show, where we take a look at how you approach your work and personal life and how we can make the most out of both of them. A weekly get-together where we get real about self-improvement and development as we all make this not-so-easy journey through life. Our discussions will cover ideas and concepts from how to grow your career to how to lead your family towards prosperity and happiness. We don't pretend to know it all, and the doctor is the first to be vulnerable, discussing his own weaknesses, both past and present. This is about growing together and having some fun while we discuss what is happening in the crazy world we live in and how to make the most of it. Let's strive for awesome together. Let's get after it. Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Dr. Leadership Podcast. Hope you're having an awesome day. I know I am. I am in week 2 of retirement. I haven't really been retired yet. Made a wonderful trip on a consulting engagement down to Florida this last week. Great times there. Great people. Just met some great people. There'll be more information coming out around that in the coming weeks and months. But enjoyed that trip immensely. It was nice to get down to some warmer weather. We're still kind of breaking into the spring here in the Midwest. It was also hot and humid, so Florida just heats up quick. Not as much as Arizona, but does heat up quick. But hope you're having an awesome week. Hey, it's Masters Sunday. It's Palm Sunday. Time to start looking internally and remembering what this great world is all about. Remember next Sunday, the most important day in history. Coming up with the resurrection of Christ. So please make sure you get your family surrounded with you and really show appreciation this next week. On the business things here, I'm getting ready to head to Asia. I think I've talked about this a little bit. Heading to Bangkok 3 weeks from today, actually doing some training and some consulting engagements with APAC, Australia, New Zealand. Very, very excited about that. Getting some content put together for that as we speak, and got some great guests coming up on the show too. So I'll give some feedback on the Asia trip here in a month or so, and then got some great guests coming up. Some people in the financial community, some people in mindset. Got a number of good meetings scheduled for next week to start getting some recordings scheduled. So hope you enjoy that. Hope you enjoyed last week's episode on Take Nothing in Life for Granted. Take Nothing for Granted in Life, I think, is the actual way in which I stated the episode. And it's just so true, man. Life can turn on you in a heartbeat. Just stay true to yourself, stay true to your family, be appreciative, show thanks. Again, with Easter coming up, it is a time to be very, very thankful. Spring is among us, new endeavors, a new beginning, all those types of things happening. So please stay focused to that. I want to shout out to, got a few new members to the Dr. Leadership membership site. Remember, you can get out to that and get access to this content early at www.drleadershipresults.com. That's the website. Go down to subscribe. Click on that. Takes you out. It's $5 a month. You can cancel anytime you want. And you get access to some early content. You get access to the interviews 4 or 5 days early. You get access to the episodes early. And then you can be that trendsetter in the office environment instead of the follower. And say, hey, have you checked out the Dr. L episode this week or not? And then, of course, always can touch us through our email at www. That's not required for email. You can reach our email at drleadershipresults@gmail.com and get a message to us. Give us some content ideas. Give us some feedback, positive, negative, whatever it might be. So this week, I've been thinking, I retired 2 weeks ago and had an opportunity to work with the team on a very, very, very large transaction in the final hours. Actually, at 7:30 p.m., my last night, the team was able to turn in a $50 million transaction and with over a 5-year period, annuity, et cetera, but a $20 million hit right up front. And it was a hell of a way to go out. Made me feel awful proud of the team, allowing me to be a part of it on the way out. CEO and executive vice presidents were very happy as well. And, I was kind of reminiscing on this, and I'm like, what makes something like that happen? And it came to me that as a seller, as a leader, in life in general, if you have your own business, if you're trying to teach your kids to be better athletes, if you're trying to make sure that your relationships are going well, there's a word that comes to mind in all of this, and that is differentiator. In life, you have to find your differentiators. to be a trendsetter and not a follower, you have to have a differentiator. To be successful versus a very competitive environment, you have to have a differentiator. To have prolonged success in life, in business, and whatever it might be, you have to concentrate on your differentiators. We had an episode several months ago, and it was Win the Possession Arrow in the Jump Balls of Life. That's about differentiators. So I kind of wanted to bring this back and talk about it a little bit because it really is important, especially for you sellers out there, managers out there, got a retail environment, whatever it might be. Maybe you own an airplane company. Maybe you own a manufacturing company. Maybe you own a services company. Everything that is your success is due to can really be boiled down to the bones of a differentiator. So what is a differentiator? Let's just start with the definition of this thing. So a quick Google hit will bring this up to you. It says a sales differentiator is a unique quality or feature that sets a product or service apart, all caps there, apart from its competition or competitors. The goal of a sales differentiator is to make a product or service more desirable to customers and prospects. So this is where the magic happens in every engagement. If you do this part right, you will win a larger percentage of the deals. If you miss this part, you'll be watching the competition grow and not your own pocketbook, not your own customer base, not your market share, whatever you want to measure your success by. See, you've got to be able to deliver messages to those that you're trying to engage in a business engagement. And you have to be able to point to benefits. Now, back in the day, I'm going to go way old school here for a second. When I was learning how to sell copiers door to door, we used to call them FAB statements, F-A-B. And what that stood was, actually FFBs. Feature, it's been so long I can't remember the acronym. Feature, function, benefit. So the feature is your differentiator, and what it does is the function. But the key when you're delivering messages around differentiators is to focus in your commentary, your conversation, your listening, and your replying to your customers and your prospects is around the benefit. It's great if you're the fastest, but what does the fastest really mean? What is the, air quotes, benefit of it? So the magic happens in knowing you have a differentiator, delivering the message about the differentiator and what it does, and then the true benefit. Does it save money? Does it give them a competitive advantage which leads to more revenue? Does it lift up reliability? Does it take away man hours and full-time equivalents? FTEs can be lowered, so there's cost savings. Does it give them access to more customers that they currently don't have the technology, the service, the capability, the capacity to go and engage? That is the benefit part of the statement. So stay true to yourself when you're looking at this stuff, and make sure that when I say stay true to yourself, make sure that you're staying true to what the benefit you're bringing to the customer is, not just the speed and or feed, etc. So there's a lot of different types of differentiators, and I'm going to get into those in just a second, a few anyway. But the benefits of sales differentiators are this. And sales is the overarching, that's the umbrella of this conversation. So the first thing, it's a competitive advantage. It's a competitive edge. Now, competitive edges are designed, developed through research and development, created, enhanced, because that's a strategy for success, right? If everybody sold the same widget, price becomes the only deciding factor. But if you have true benefits inside your product, again, speeds, feeds, capabilities, but true end benefits, what the outcome is to the customer, that's going to allow you to have competitive advantage. Suddenly you get out of the commodity space. How many times have you been involved in a deal and they go, well, they're less expensive? You have not done a good job establishing differentiators in whatever your goal in life is as far as a business attribute and success around, whatever you're selling, whatever you're servicing, whatever you're doing, if you are in a price battle. And the thing is that there's an old saying, no one understands the value of their product more than the person pricing it. So I go there often with customers because I know that there are cost-conscious buyers, and everybody's cost-conscious. But there are buyers that are really looking for the low dollar. You owe me the lowest possible. I use statements such as, well, if you want the least common provider, it's not me. I typically set up my engagement and my proposal with this. Listen, we are not the low-cost provider. And let's say I'm competing against ABC Company. And let's say they normally are 5% less than me. I will, in my preliminary call, start to set up an expectation of a much larger cost difference than that. I will say things such as, hey, ABC is a great company, but we have a number of values and services and solutions and benefits that we're going to deliver that justify the typical 20-25% price difference that we have to take on with them. They are historically every day up and down the street 20-25% less than us. So if price is your number one decision maker here, and not that the product is reliable, and not that you'll bring benefits, and not that you'll capture new customers, and not that your uptime is going to be better, whatever it might be, then maybe we should just disengage now, or would you still like to go through the process? See, what I've done is I've set the competition up in the customer's mind that they're going to be 20 or 25% less. And then when they come in only 5% less, the customer's going to think, or prospect's going to think two things. One is Rico's really being aggressive. If I was still at Rico, I am now my own deal. I'm being very aggressive. Whatever you sell is very aggressively priced, trying to earn their business, trying to shrink the gap. Or ABC Company's trying to hose me. I've been told they're 20-25% less than these guys. They're only 5% less. See how you suddenly have taken an advantage of price and created fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the customer's mind, in the prospect's mind. So competitive edge, you have to think not only of what yours are, but what the competition's are. And I'm going to touch on that too. So you can establish lines in the sand. You can use conversations and question and answer sessions, active listening, open-ended questions to position yourself as strongly against your weak spots as you are positioning your strengths in the best light possible. See, sales and creating relationships and winning customers is war. Not in the sense that you're going out and killing each other and you're blowing things up, but you've got to have the psychology part figured out. If you don't have the psychology part as part of your mindset when you're going into it, every conversation you have goals and objectives to get to. I'm not talking about lying. I'm not talking about a loss of integrity. I'm not talking about any of those things. I'm just talking about how you have to position your solution, your service, as strongly as possible, and you have to create distance from the customer's buying decision and buying criterias from your competitor's advantage. You have to do this all the time. If you aren't thinking about this, you'll miss opportunities. So the benefits of the sales differentiators, back to that, I got down a tangent there, but competitive edge, that's the strategy for success. The other thing you're trying to do is you're trying to expand your market presence. And if you're an individual seller, you're just trying to pick up more people in your territory. Because what happens is it's a snowball going downhill. You get this customer, they know a couple people. They aren't going to tell other people they made a bad decision. They're going to tell, hey, I got this great new product from Tim Smith, if your name's Tim Smith. And then you have another opportunity. References are key. Ask for them. At the end, when you've closed the deal up, I always ask the question, is there anybody else inside your market space that could benefit from the products and services I've been, made so lucky to engage with you on? They love helping people. Make sure you do that. So expanded market presence, that represents growing momentum. That adds more snow to the snowball, right? The other thing differentiators give you is enhanced profit margins or commissions, gross profit, contributional margin, operating income, whatever you want to talk about. See, that allows you that extra GP, that extra money that you get out of the transaction, allows you to invest in more deals, allows, as a manufacturer or creator of a service, that's what you utilize if you're able to outpace the market in a profitability aspect. Allows you to invest in coming up with the new differentiator to go into different markets. Maybe you're a retailer and you sell fishing rods. This allows you to get into duck calls. This allows you to get into guns. This allows you to get into archery. Come up with whatever example you got. But if you can enhance your profits and your profitability, it also gives you the ability to negotiate from a position of strength. When you aren't winning, every deal becomes so critical to you because you got to make a buck. When you're making lots of bucks, you can negotiate from a position of strength. Well, that's okay. I mean, if you want to buy from them because it's a low-cost provider, that's okay. We appreciate the opportunity. Hey, keep my card because there's going to be some issues that are going to come up whenever you pay the least amount. We all know what happens. Quality, proficiency, reliability have to be diminished. We aren't making a ton here compared to everybody else. Keep my card and call me, okay? I'll come back and then we'll talk about a value position instead of a cost position. Again, I say often, nobody understands the value of their product more than the person pricing it. ABC Company understands they've got a cheap product. And if you want to engage with that, I wish you well. I don't wish any ill will on you. It's exactly how I'd say it. The other thing that differentiators bring you is customer retention. This helps you sustain growth. This is what's the matter with the cheap provider. It's one and done. Going to sell it once, piece of crap, not going to buy it again. Lesson learned most of the time. If you have a really, really good product or service and you have lots of good differentiators and you have value and you've positioned that value and then you follow up on that value and then you do great customer retention and great customer follow-ups and quarterly reviews and remind them how much you've saved them and remind them how much more productive you are and remind them how much you have done to elevate their business to the next level, they're going to stay with you. It is, you can have a 20-gallon bucket full of money, but if you got a hole in the bottom and you're losing more money faster than you're bringing it into the top of the bucket, you aren't going to stay in business very long. So you gotta walk the talk too. You got to deliver on these differentiators after the state of the sale finishing up. So let's explore this a little bit more. So there's some different examples on differentiators. These are sales differentiators. First one's a big one. We've kind of touched on it. Product differentiation, right? Those are distinct features, advantages of what you're selling. Maybe it's software as a service. It's faster than anybody else. It removes more hand touches than anybody else. It eliminates mistakes better than anybody else. Those are huge, huge examples of a good sales differentiator. What sets you apart in the market? What you need to do is sit down and before you go on a call, or before you make a call, or before you send an introductory email, or reach out on LinkedIn through social media, whatever it might be, use all of them. You need to give yourself an idea. You got to sell to yourself on what your differentiators are. So sit and think about it. Is it you've got better research and development? Do you have better integration abilities in whatever type of business you're trying to engage with here? Your solution integrates better with other parts of their entire business. If you build one piece of the manufacturing equipment, does it integrate better with the next piece of manufacturing equipment that it needs? So if yours routes out of steel or aluminum, the widget, does your piece of equipment integrate better with the thing that packages it up, as an example? Does yours work better with the thing that's sending the steel down the line or the aluminum down the line for the first step of the manufacturing process? Are you faster? Maybe artificial intelligence is big right now. It's big in everything. It's big in what my former employer is going after right now. People are trying to take labor and mistakes and failure points out of these things. The reason? Drives cost out of the overall cost of doing business. Machine learning's a big one these days. Maybe it's, again, simply performance specifications. It's faster. It's stronger. Maybe it's something simple that you get to talk about that is an intangible. I use this one a lot. You have somebody priced lower than you. What does their product weigh? Well, their product weighs 1,500 pounds. What's your product weigh? 2,000 pounds. Well, the reason our product weighs 33% more is because it's built to last. We're 33% better constructed. I'm 5% higher cost. Do you not see an advantage here? The other thing from a negotiation skill standpoint, somebody comes to you and says, your price is too high. I love you. I want to buy from you, but the price is too high. This is where I ask them a question. What do you think would be a fair margin for me to make on this product that's faster and better, that you say is more reliable. You can see all the differentiators I pointed out. You can see the value, but my price hasn't matched yet in your mind. What do you think a fair margin is? And they'll typically say something like, well, I think 20% is a fair margin for someone to make on a business. And I said, that's great. I can raise my price to 20% margin, or we can go ahead and finish this transaction up and develop this relationship on the 12 points of margin I currently have. See, what you've done is you've painted them in a corner. Maybe you've got 14 points of margin. In my business, we never carried much more than, 20 was a sweet deal. It was all about the annuity and the razor blades that that you shave every day, the Bic razor example, right? Give you the razor for nothing and sell you the blades at a good margin because you shave every day. What you've done is you've flipped the script on them. They've answered their own question. They have now said that you are not overpriced. I'm actually underpriced, and I'm willing to take that transaction because I want your business. So see, by understanding your differentiators and by positioning yourself, you can eliminate these objectives. I don't know, folks. You just got to think about this stuff all the time. When you are having the first call with somebody, you have to be actively listening and using the responses to bring back to the conversation in your proposal and your presentation. Every statement the customer makes can point to one of your differentiators in some manner. So if you aren't using chess moves instead of checkers, you're going to get beat more often than not. You've got to be thinking about these things. What's another type of differentiator? What about brand? Maybe you're a reseller of certain products. My wife played basketball at a very high level. She is loyal to Nike to this day because Nike carries an unbelievable brand. Think of all the iPhone users, Apple. They have a monopoly on integrated phone, TV type services. Samsung is very strong too, right? Another very, very good endeavor. But Samsung isn't making iPad type products and isn't making, the Apple TV type stuff. Samsung does now have streaming content that you get live for free when you buy one of their TVs. I discovered that the other day. Dummy me, I'm pretty technologically savvy. I'm going through and I go, hey, honey, we got 300 channels here. Now, it's nothing but old episodes of lots of shows, but how many times have you been looking and there's like nothing on TV? We've gotten into Antique Roadshow. Every night when we lay down to bed, we sit there and we kind of cuddle up and relax and watch that for 15, 20 minutes and go, man, that guy bought that painting for $5 at the garage sale. Oh, it's a, lost Rembrandt. It's worth, $250,000. And we just sit and look at each other and just laugh. We feel so happy for these people that burst into tears. But I digress. But brand makes a big difference. Sometimes we find ourselves at a disadvantage in that area. So it's crucial at that point to really emphasize product, and then what I'm going to talk about next, service capabilities that differentiate you. So like my old employer, we didn't do any advertising. Rico really, very, very little. We have a great web presence and we've got great word of mouth and we're known for a lot of things. We're at all the shows. We've got big booths and all that type of stuff. But I don't know how many times I'm just so glad that this Sunday on Masters Final Round Sunday, and it's going to be a good one, that I'm not watching the Konica Minolta Swing Vision camera any longer. It used to drive me nuts because they were a big competitor. So people many times, and shame on you if this happens, but we had a vast portfolio at my former employer, and I'd be sitting at a big presentation and they'd go, we had no idea you guys did this stuff. Oh God, I would just want to baby slap the sales team members that I had in the meetings with me at that point. Just look at them, give them the mean dad eyes going, really? Really? Been calling on this customer for 2 years and they don't know that we do that? See, the thing is you can't assume anything around your differentiators. You can't assume anything around your portfolio. You can't assume anything about your product. You can't assume anything about your service and your service offerings from the aspect that the customer knows it already. You got to be an evangelist in these situations. HP great brand. The problem is that HP is a low-cost provider on the front end of product, and then they just absolutely rake people over the coals on their consumables. HP is a toner and ink company. They are not a technology company. They are a toner and ink company. It is more expensive. HP ink is more expensive than Chanel No. 5, more expensive than Dom Perignon by the liquid ounce, more expensive than gold. They're making some heavy cash because of their brand. See, you've got to be, there used to be an old thing, ABCs always be closing. A little bit of ABDs, always be delivering your differentiators, delivering your value. Because if you don't, you are not going to have that as a part of your prospect or customer's decision-making process. You want them to look at your proposal and you're a little bit more expensive and they go, yeah, but they give us A, B, C, D, and E, which leads to this savings at the other end. That's why you have to tie it to the benefits. Take your differentiator and you create the difference in your price. You make up for it with all the things you give them. If you're faster and you're more productive, it doesn't matter that if you're 20% more productive and only 10% more expensive, you have a 10% advantage forever. See how that works? You've got to position the differentiators in a manner that the customer starts using them as savings and as value in dollars and cents, not just a function on the brochure. It impacts their outcomes. It impacts their bottom line. It impacts their cost of labor. It impacts their productivity. It impacts their reliability. On and on and on. If you aren't doing this, you're going to be in a world of hurt. The last one on differentiators for yourself, I want to talk about service. Go through if you're a service organization. Now, everybody's a service organization from this aspect. Customer service, follow-up, appreciation. Everybody has that. That's easy to be the best at. Follow up. Call them. How's it going? In my former business, my former life of 36 years, a lot of salespeople, a lot of companies, we do a lot of leasing. 95+% of the business is through leasing. So you sell them something and it's on a 36 or 48 or 60-month lease typically. Well, the sales rep wouldn't re-engage until, let's say it's a 36-month lease. About month 30, start calling it, how's it going? Hey, I'm here again. How does that make you feel as a customer? Oh, you're back, sell me some again. What you need to be there is in month 4 and month 8 and month 12 and month 16, month 20, month 24. Following up, how's it going? Dropping off some donuts. That's a differentiation in your customer service approach. Now, maybe it's break fix. Maybe you actually sell something that breaks down and you got to have great technicians. She's got to be able to respond fast. She's got to be able to be in there and be the best at break fixing it and replacing the broken part, getting it back up and running faster than anybody else. If you're in the service business, what are your differentiations? What are the differentiators? Tenure, parts availability, amount of inventory you hold on hand, coverage model, expertise. I don't know. I bet you do if you sit and you think about it. So come up with what sets you apart. Maybe you're higher priced. We battle this all the time. We are higher priced than our competition for service. The reason is because I got 1,000 people or had 1,000 people dedicated to servicing just my line of business across the U.S. The next closest, 150 maybe. I can respond faster. I've got backup. I've got vacation coverage. I've got built-in succession planning. I've got more parts in the field because I got 1,000 techs with parts in their cars. I've got 2 mega centers, had 2 mega centers with parts in warehouses. Next flight out, parts capabilities. Our service technicians were compensated more heavily if the products they were responsible for servicing worked more reliably. I say that again. We paid bonuses if they got more impressions out of the printers in between service calls. Have that conversation with the customer. They'll go, what? I've never heard of such a thing. Yeah, that's a differentiator. That's why we're a little higher priced. It's because you're going to run more. You aren't going to be down. There's products that are known in the market because of brand recognition and everything else as the greatest product ever. Problem is they run about 60% of the damn time. So it's the greatest product 6 out of 10 days. The other 4 days, your competition's delivering to your competition. So see, by establishing these differentiators in your conversation, you're diminishing the competition's capability to show a strength to your weakness. You're turning their strength into a weakness, or their perceived strength into a weakness. You're taking your weaknesses into perceived neutrals or a strength. How do you, God, I'm tangled up here. Once you have all these things written down and you understand what your benefits and differentiators are, how are you going to explain that in your presentation? What's your value statement in all of this from a context standpoint? Do you have a good story? Refer back to Dr. L's episode on storytelling, right? You've got to be able to now take what you know and believe and deliver it with confidence and expose the customer to all of these great things that are values versus the competition. So you got to know that about all your own stuff. And then what I challenge each of you to do is you got to know your competition better than they understand themselves. So to begin with, you got to come up with, who are my main competitors? When you're talking about differentiation, creating differentiators that you can talk about to create value, you have to know who you're competing against so you know that they're differentiators. I'd be sitting in meetings and I would be the only one in a meeting, and I'm not being braggadocious here. It's just I paid attention. I read the periodicals. I went out and looked at the competitive websites and go, no, their product doesn't work like that. Well, they said it does. Well, they're lying. Let's go look at the online demonstration themselves. They aren't showing it that way. Oh, look at the fine print. You got to use pre-treat, or you got to use more expensive this, or you got to use more expensive that, or it doesn't fit in the environmental needs of the customer. Something doesn't work good in hot and humid. It's not going to do as good in Florida. I'm just making shit up as I go along here, folks. But what you have to do is you have to understand your competitors, your competition's values and differentiators as well. Share that. If you're a leader, do team meetings on this. We are going to dissect who's kicking our ass for the next 3 weeks and why, and develop strategies on how to take them on. And not how to take them on in the closing appointment, how to take them on your initial call, your first call, how to take them on through active listening, how to take them on through demonstration, how to take them on through proposal and presentation, and closing scenarios. Maybe you have to adjust how you're pricing things. Maybe you got to go to R&D, say, you got to give us more here because we can't offset this differentiator they have. You got to come up with, why do they surpass you? What additional challenges are hindering your ability to lead the market? Think about it. Okay, that isn't going well for us, so what do we do to offset that? How can you address competitive advantages by others? You got to understand their service offerings. You got to understand how ours is better, right? It's almost the old Ben Franklin pros and cons. You got to put up our technicians. Advantage or disadvantage? Advantage, because we got mine was always an advantage. I never lost a deal because of my service coverage. I won and retained tons. Never lost one over it. I'm going to focus on my service coverage model. What sets us apart in service? That's going to be in bold letters in my presentation. That's going to be a part of my demonstration. I'm going to bring service into some meetings, service directors into the meetings to talk to them. Let them feel like they're getting the coverage of the leaders of every attribute of your engagement process. What weaknesses does your competition have? So you have your strengths, you have their weaknesses, right? Your pros, their cons. Take those two together and develop your story. Then you have to come up with, why would I, if I was the customer, choose us? And that's how you back in your value proposition development, right? You use it to counteract any potential perceived drawback of your product, your service, your company. That's what you have to do. And you have to be thinking about it all the time. Maybe it's the product that's better than yours in certain areas. What factors contribute to their product being the preferred option? What is it? If they're faster, okay, we got to come up with a story on, we got to show we're more reliable to diminish their faster. How can we convince and show the customer that our advantage of reliability is more important than their advantage of speed? See how this works? Sales, I've said 100 times on 160 episodes. Sales and leadership, both, human nature, it's a psychology engagement. Not trying to manipulate in the bad sense of the words, but you're trying to use the psychology and human nature to get people to lean your way in the decision-making process. You aren't mind-bending them. You aren't pulling out the Men in Black friggin' flasher to eliminate their memories. What you're doing is you're convincing them that your advantages, your differentiators are more important than the competition's. And the way you do that is if you have a clear and present advantage, it's real easy. You state the advantage. If they have an advantage, you have to take one of your advantages, one of your other value proposition strengths, and counter it and diminish it so it becomes, at worst, a neutral position in the decision-making process. If you aren't doing this, you're going to lose more than if you did do this. That's the value proposition of Dr. L telling you to do this. In which applications or processes do you excel? It might be job type. It might be, in my old business, well, you run lots of books. Well, guess what? We've got a wider web, so we can do more books up. We can run them in the landscape position instead of in the portrait. That's 27% faster because the roll of paper doesn't get used as fast. You're all learning too much about the printing business suddenly. But that was something we leaned on in every conversation. What are the counter-arguments if you're not in the strong position there? Why should we be considered valuable? What's our value statement in this regard? That's what you got to be thinking about. And then maybe brand differentiation comes into play. There used to be an old saying in my business, and I use my business because I was in it for 36 years. Xerox was the major player. No one gets fired for choosing or buying Xerox. Used to be a statement out there. That forever people would auto upgrade with them, evergreen their leases, because it's Xerox, man. It's the good choice. Guess what? They have been falling out of business for 20 years. They haven't invented something new in 20 years. They've just disengaged from the money-making. What my company's making the most money off of, the production space, Xerox is disengaging with. They've announced the end of products, not going to service them any longer. It's easy pickings right now if you're dedicated to going after it. But brand can be an advantage and it can be a disadvantage. It used to be for Xerox a huge advantage. Now it's a huge disadvantage. That big deal I said on the last day, all Xerox on one side of $30 million of that $50 million was a complete switch from 40-odd pieces of production equipment for Xerox because their service sucks. They don't follow up. That's the customer's words, not mine. So their brand went from 7 years ago, when they went all in with them, they're the only choice to any choice but them. So brand can flip on you. So when you're facing an uphill battle around brand recognition, what do you in your mind put in place to offset that? Hey, we may not be as well known, but we are mighty. Guess what wasn't well known to the Indians? The rifle. Guess what beat the Indians? The rifle. Their brand recognition was bow and arrows is the way you win wars. Just using a historical analogy here. There's an old, what made me think of it as I saw it on Instagram today, the old King's it's a comic. King's getting all his armor put on. He's got his sword, his pages are loading him up, and there's a knock at the door. And one of his pages comes up and says, there's a salesman at the door. And the king says, I have no time for salesmen. I'm here to win a war. And then they pan back and the salesman's standing on the other side of the door with a gun. Well, guess what, King? You'd have won the war. Just because you didn't recognize that person's company or that person's solution doesn't mean it's not the best in the market. So you diminish again. Hey, you know why they spend a lot of money on name recognition? It's because their products suck. You wouldn't say it that way, but I would start to put that in their mind. What actions can we implement during or even prior to that sales process to reduce the brand awareness advantages? So when you got the advantage, you emphasize it. When you don't have the advantage, you have to have a countermeasure, another way in which to take the conversation to show your advantage offsets more so their advantage. That's the chess move. You have to, in chess, the masters are 7, 8, 9 moves ahead. If I move here, they'll move here. then I'll move here, then they'll move here. Then I'll move here, then they'll move here. Then I move there, checkmate. They don't look and go, I can get their rook if I just tap it. I'm going to move this pawn one piece up here, and they're not even thinking about what is the counter movement. You have to be a master chess player to be successful in a retail business, in a services business, as a seller, as a leader, a manager, a director, whatever might be your case. If you aren't, the competition's going to be that. Do you want the competition to be awesome? Or do you want to be awesome? Understand your differentiators. Understand your competition better than they understand themselves. If you do those two things, your results are going to be awesome. Then keep that shit up. Talk next week.